got is a Netflix movie that I only found out about after seeing that it was nominated for the Oscar for Best Foreign Film. It comes from Italy, from writer and director Paolo Sorrentino. Apparently it's based on his childhood. There is no real story here, but it's really more a bunch of vignettes about his family. I know that doesn't sound like the most interesting thing in the world, but for the most part it's made watchable by the personalities of the family. For much of their time these characters are actually kind of fun to watch. And the first half is very light and humorous. However, things take a darker turn in the second half after a tragedy that I probably shouldn't spoil here. The rest mostly deals with the grieving process while maintaining that same type of vignette style. This is very much like Roma. It's not as good, but it's clear that it's just as personal. And it is that passion, along with well-written characters, that elevates this from the pits of self-indulgence. However, it does still drag a little. It's over 2 hours long and it could stand to be a little shorter. Also, some of its portrayals of sexuality can come across as creepy, especially those involving the aunt. The Rotten Tomatoes critics' consensus goes out of its way to say it isn't as good as the director's other work, which I am completely unfamiliar with. So I guess that means I'm not a dumb plebe for being so meh on it. I have not seen most of the other foreign film nominees, but I'd be surprised if this didn't turn out to be my least favorite of them. The only one I've seen so far was Flea, which is on Hulu now, and that is much better than this. But still, this is a nice, very personal, slow burn coming of age story. It might not hit for everyone, but the audience for it will probably enjoy it.
And now for our feature presentation.
Now that we're done talking about a high art foreign film, let's talk about the movie where the Foo Fighters play themselves getting brutally murdered by demons, Studio 666. This movie came to fruition when the Foo Fighters recorded their last album in a creepy mansion, and frontman Dave Grohl came up with a horror story about them if the house was actually haunted. And then apparently one thing led to another, and it turned into an actual movie filmed in that same house. It was directed by B.J. McDonnell, whose IMDB page appears to be made up of mostly music videos for Slayer and one for Exodus. And something called Hatchet 3, but really, does anyone think that that was what got him this job? The script was written by Jeff Bueller, who wrote the Pet Sematary remake, the Midnight Meat Train, and the Grudge remake, and by Rebecca Hughes, a writer for Grounded for Life. I am a Foo Fighters fan. I wore a shirt with their name to the screening. In hindsight, I probably should have taken that picture at the theater. They even had a poster right there, but it just never occurred to me. A picture on Twitter taken long after the time it should have been, and probably with an awkward expression. Pretty on brand from my channel.
Elaborate on that.
No, I won't.
This is the kind of film Hollywood doesn't make anymore. First, because it's a movie where a popular rock band plays themselves, like the Beatles had and a few other bands with movies that I probably don't know about. And second, because it's a campy, over-the-top horror comedy that actually managed to get a wide release in theaters. And it is funny for the most part. Not every joke hits, but I guess enough work. It's an interesting story that doubles as an allegory for the creative process. Even though the band members aren't actors, their performances at the very least weren't bad enough to take me out of it. Or at least I can't remember any part where they were particularly terrible. Also, there are some pretty cool, pretty gory death scenes. It is surprisingly a little scary at times. Although I kind of view this as a mixed bag for this kind of movie that I was expecting to be campier. And there are a few more jump scares than I'd like. And they probably could have pushed the more comedic horror a little further. But none of that really takes away from the fun. And that's what this movie really is. Fun. And a lot of it. You hear the pitch of a real life rock band playing themselves getting killed by demons and you know what you're getting into. There's something charming about this movie actually getting made. Dave Grohl always comes off as a cool and genuine guy, and this only helps that image. It's always nice to see musicians not take themselves so seriously. This isn't perfect, but it's a very fun, very gory rock and roll horror movie.
Get your kicks on Route 66.
Also, I finally set up a Patreon. I know I don't have a lot of subscribers, but I've been doing this for so long that I still think it's time. I really like making these videos and would love to still be able to make them in the future, so if you can, please join. The link is in the description.